What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Bittersweet podcast. It's your girl Wintana,
And I'm Rahel.
and we are back with another episode after we just dropped an amazing campaign yesterday.
Yeah, incredible.
So we've been saying that we've been working on something in the background for a while now.
Yeah,
It's
for a
been
minute.
like a month, has it been?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a month. So we just dropped a campaign that we did in collaboration with Puma and Fenty. What?
Tell me what?
What?
Who was it?
Rihanna. Rihanna's on the line. Hello. The actual collaboration was with Finesse Store, which is an independent sneaker store. And they have, it's like all for women, all women sneakers, and they're based in Collingwood. So check them out. But yeah, I thought the campaign was incredible. The execution was amazing. Shout out to Moe Elton, who's been on the episode before, and he worked with us in like putting it all together. And Mary, who has been our photographer for all our events, she delivered. All the girls on the actual campaign, Ruta, Bethlehem, Christina, Azaha. It was just such a wholesome campaign.
Yeah. And it was so much fun to do.
Yeah.
Like putting it all together. I don't know. Like it was the whole, because sometimes with these types of things I'm kind of like, oh, like it's a lot of work, but it was just fun. Like the whole thing was just like so much fun, and I think that you can like really see that when you watch the video.
Yeah, it was very much about our story. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, make sure you check it out. We're going to link it in the show notes, but it was just about our story, our journey, starting Bittersweet, and then just continuing to have this platform that is dedicated to kind of, telling our stories, telling the stories of Black women, especially living in Australia. And also just like what I loved was how we were able to put like elements of our friends and the people that we're actually inspired by, and then our community. Shout out to Footscray and Mummai's Hair. We told them we'd give them a shout out. Mummai's SM Cosmetics, like all those elements of like who we are, and then bring them into a video. I think it's just really rare because you don't see like kind of our stories being told directly by us a lot of times, especially when it's like with big brands. So shout out to Finesse for giving us that opportunity, because they were like free, complete creative direction and control that you guys have. So it was just, it's just a beautiful moment to like see it go out and to see it being received so well by people. Yeah.
I was so like, I'm never shocked at like the support and stuff that everyone always comes through with like all of these things that we put out. But shout out to you, sis, for the creative direction.
Cute.
I think we just need to give props to this gal.
I'm getting my creative direction bag. No, but it was honestly like, thank you.
What was that experience? I
mean, it was I don't know. I feel like for sure Moe was like doing it with me. Moe really kind of guided like every time I would be like, okay, this idea, or he would say this idea, we'd work together in like trying to make it our own story. But it was good to kind of see like examples that he's seen, and then we were just like literally just workshopping together. Like we want this, like, and I think it's about having like a concept and then like building on it. It was hard, I'm not gonna lie. Like I did it the first time with another idea and it flopped, and sometimes that's what happens. Like
when you think about it, it's your first, like, besides obviously the Shea Moisture thing, which was also incredible. If we all remember our first creative campaign that was my crazy. Days. But like I don't know, like it's kind of expected that it's not always going to turn out perfect. And you learn a lot about like, I don't know, these videographers, their camera angles, this is like, the job is insane. Like you need to have an eye for it. So you can have an idea, but if you don't have like a good team, that idea is not going anywhere. But that's why it's like props to all of us, because I wouldn't really say we had a team. We had obviously the girls, the models, Moe, yourself, and Mary. Like, we killed it. I think it was like dream team going on right there. And I don't know, everyone was just it's so nice when everyone is just like on the same page. Everyone's like, comfortable enough with each other to work on something, and like we can give each other direction or just be really patient in like doing the whole thing. So, and I feel like because everyone knows the story and what we're trying to do and they know us, it made it 10 times easier to kind of just like
go with the flow of it.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I thought it was such a beautiful campaign.
Thought it was amazing. I thought it's just like, it was such an amazing like representation of what bittersweet is. And that's obviously what like we really wanted to capture through the whole thing. But when watching it, I was like, oh my God, goosebumps. Because I don't know. It's just that whole like comparing where we started to like where we are now.
And how we're like, because there was a line, bittersweet represents the everyday black woman. And it does. I feel like from the beginning, we've always had this like, okay, we kind of don't fit into this space. We kind of don't fit into this space. And then what I love now is when we throw an event or we have like people that, you know, support us and show their love and everything like that. It's really a community that we've created of like women we know but don't know. So many women we don't know, which is so bizarre to me to think that there are people out there who can like resonate with the content that we're putting out, the things that we talk about, the platform we're building. And like I love that, because we're not always going to be like this, you know, you always tend to compare yourself to people in certain spaces that look like the perfect fit. But I think that we have this way of like jumping on and talking and bringing people on that are quite like very like the same, but also not like social media like packaged in a way. Just like literally so everyday people. So that's kind of why I loved it the most.
And that's been our whole like mission from the get-go.
Day one, honey.
Literally no one can say anything about that, because I feel like we've been preaching that for the longest time. Like, just going on and on, and like from both of our personalities, I think we represent that. So that was what we were trying to portray in that video. And I don't know, I'm so proud. It's just whenever I it's just one of those things that's just like hard to feel is real, you know. When I tell people, or I'm like, oh yeah, we did like this, it's just like this
like I just like did this
just this, you know,
this little campaign thing that we just did. We just know Rihanna now. The way we were signing that contract, and it was like Fenty, Rihanna Fenty, like said her name. I said, what? We're signing a contract to Rihanna.
She's gonna
she basically knows us now. What do you mean?
She does. What do you mean? If Rihanna's gonna be looking for black girls to work with in Australia, hello,
pull up, Rihanna. You already know. Bittersweet headquarters. Bittersweet headquarters.
So coming off everything that we have just spoken about, and everything that kind of that the Fenty campaign represents, and just kind of everything that has happened this year. I don't even know how to start this, sis. For a couple of months now, me and Wintana have had conversations behind the scenes, and we've been making plans, and we've been really trying to think about like what we want for Bittersweet, and what we both want individually, like going on into the future. And I guess like there's no way to have a smooth transition, because I've been really trying. After that conversation, I was like, oh, you know, how am I going to say this? But I guess I have an announcement. I have something that I've been wanting to, struggling to, needing to, well, not struggling to, but like trying to find the right moment to talk about for a little while now. And I guess what I've been trying to say is that I've made the decision I'm going to be leaving Bittersweet podcast. I'm so sorry.
Sorry the way you said that.
I'm so sorry, but that was just like word vomit. I honestly, girl.
It just sounds so final when you say it like that.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's not final. As in, like, I don't know how to say that. I'm still very much going to be involved in Bittersweet. Like, this is something that means so much to me. And, like, it's something that I've been working on consistently for the past 5 years. And something I've been there for. It's something that has really kind of, like, defined who I am, and it's defined my personality. And it's I wouldn't be the person that I am today without it. So I know I'm not leaving Bittersweet. I'm just taking a step back from the podcast for now. And I think like it's so hard yeah, again, like this isn't just a final decision that's just been made. It's something that like we've been talking about, and I feel like there's just been so many blessed things that have happened throughout the past couple months that have just really obviously made it 10 times harder to make the decision, but it's also been almost like the perfect way for me to just experience this. Like there's just been so much like, you know, love and validation and opportunities and support just like everywhere, which of course, like for me, it has made the decision harder.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's kind of like, this is crazy. But yeah, I can go in like a little bit as to why, but the main thing I want to talk about in this episode is I just want us to really like take a moment to talk about bittersweet.
Oh, Rahel, you're actually gonna make me cry in this episode, and I didn't even know it was coming out.
You're such an emotional
I'm
girl.
Such an emotional girl because oh my god,
no,
what?
This girl.
I think like one thing that we can say as well is like this conversation has been something we've been talking about, but it hasn't been like the slightest bit easy. It's been, this episode has been pushed back multiple times because it just never felt like the right time. And I think like we're obviously realizing that there's never really a right time. It's kind of like one of those things that you have to, if you feel it in your soul that things are not, you know, if not even things are not right, but if you feel like, you know, there's a time for you, there's always a season for things. And if you feel like that is changing for you, then it's like you just have to do it. And I think that's like obviously extremely hard for you, but then having someone that like, you know, we've been like partners, sis, like obviously we still are sisters, but it's just like that that feeling of just it's just a weird feeling.
That's the thing, like I don't really know how to describe it, because I wouldn't say it's like, again, like this even it being a decision, I don't think in my mind I've been like yes 100%. I'm just very much like the type of person that just acts, you know, and like I've always been like that. Like if I feel a way, and if I'm like, and sometimes it's the wrong decision, sometimes it's the right decision, I don't know, but I if I'm feeling like, oh, there's a new chapter there for me, there's things I want to explore while also being very, you know, involved in what's going on here. But I think we all know like how much the level of commitment that's like necessary to be involved in something like this. And for me, like I take this seriously, extremely seriously. So it was just trying to kind of like think about other paths or things I want to do in conjunction with this. It just really, me personally, it's just like hard to put two and two together, because like I tend to put like I work better when I put 100% into like one thing instead of trying to do multiple things at once. So I think like it's just kind of this, you know, when you get that like little tug where it's like, oh, like there's a change that's like calling you, like type of thing. And I'm like, I just want to explore that. Not that like there's anything specific. And I've like, I don't know, I think I just want to like really talk about how this whole thing has just been probably the most incredible thing that has ever happened to me. Like, and I know that never would have happened if we didn't meet each other, and if both of us weren't the type of people that were just like, okay, let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
We did it.
Girl, we did it and then some.
It's what do you mean?
It was every highlight that has happened from day dot to now has always been like, okay, should we just try doing this? Okay, let's just try.
Yeah,
I mean, to like no experience, no knowing people in the space, like not really even understanding the like I guess the value that we could bring or like what we were trying to create. We were just kind of like this idea that we wanted to start a podcast and just talk. And obviously there was not just talk, it was like it came from that whole pain point of like there not being any representation for us, and like there not being any stories where, especially for Black women, where we could just freely talk about what we go through, our experiences, and to think like 5 years later, which, fun fact, actually Bittersweet started in May 2019, and now it's like full circle. The fact that this is happening now in May is just 2024. What? It's just crazy to me. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I think I don't even know what I was thinking when I like first started the podcast, but it's so crazy when you think about yourself in the past and yourself now, and try and like put two of those things together, because when you look at our like how we started, it was so, I don't know, it was just like it was so, like I just never would have expected it to be here.
No, we were doing like Instagram lives during COVID. We were doing like face masks, and then we were doing things like we were on on the Zoom calls, and I just feel like we had so many stages of the bittersweet like eras that were going down. But how do you feel like for you, if you were to compare like Rahel in 2019 to 2024 Rahel, and like what is the difference, and how do you think Bittersweet has played a part in that change?
I think
it's like an interview.
I think 2019 Rahel was very, I don't even know, very, which I'm still kind of the same, but I was like very shy and like not very self-assured in what I have to say anyway. I think like I always kind of felt like I had a point of view, like a perspective that people might find interesting, but I didn't really have the confidence to like be vocal about it. And I was just, I didn't understand there's so much I didn't know around representation, around like the power, like the meaning of having a voice, and being able to like use that to inspire people or like have an influence. Like I didn't really get that. I was just like talking to talk, which is obviously like part of what makes this whole thing special, because we've both always done that. Like but I think I remember the first I just wasn't entirely understanding like what we were getting ourselves into, you know? Like but I think that's like, again, that's what makes it special. Do you remember the first episode we recorded?
Yes, I remember.
Do you remember what we talked about?
I remember there being a story about something to do with five pounds, and then I think I remember it was like an introspective episode, and we were talking about like the move to London, something along those lines.
Do you remember? Did we record it twice?
I think so. Yeah, we did. And I just remember the second time, I remember when we were listening to the audio and how we were cringing. All I remember was like editing and pacing the room as we were just like sitting there editing. But
oh my gosh, I died. Do you know how like that was such a huge, which I'm assuming it was for YouTube, it was such a huge thing for me posting that. I was mortified, honestly.
I don't know. Do you know what it was? I think the fact that we started in London made it 10 times easier for me, because I didn't know anyone in London like that. So, you know, when you go to a new city and you go somewhere, or you're somewhere for the first time, and whatever you give off is what people are going to take in, you know? So, but where you're from, obviously there's expectations. People know like the Wintana they grew up with, or the Rahel they grew up with. So when I'm around people that don't, and they're just like, oh yeah, she's doing a podcast, that must be her thing. Like, it just felt like there was a lot of freedom around putting that kind of content out, because we didn't have to face the people that were. I think being in Melbourne and starting a podcast would have been so much harder.
I agree. But it still wasn't easy.
It was so hard. What do you mean?
Because I was just like, bitch, who cares? Like every time for the first like season, I feel like I was constantly like, who cares? Like I'd say that to myself, as in like, who cares about what you have to say? And like I really like struggled with that for a very long time. But throughout everything, like there's been a couple things that made that easier for me. One of them was like obviously my mindset, where I was like, you know, you were given the opportunity to be a voice for people, and this is something that not a lot of other people, not everyone gets. So I'm going to take that opportunity. And also, like, I just always saw it as an opportunity to just like challenge myself and really grow and change, which is exactly what happened. But also like the people, the supporters, oh my gosh,
the listeners,
honestly, there is absolutely no way that I would be able to like, or you know, we would be able to continue without like the constant support and like, you know, validation from everyone around us. Like at the beginning it was a smaller community,
and then over the years,
but even like my family, my friends, going out, like the community in itself, it's just crazy.
And I would say you, like, in obviously a positive way, I feel like you've changed a lot as a person from when we started Bittersweet to just, you've changed a lot from when I first met you to who you are now. And in a lot of ways it's just kind of like more, you're just wiser, and I feel like you just have more, you're more sure of yourself and grounded in like what you want, which direction you want to go in. But it's beautiful to see how much, like, because you've always said like I could never have been this confident, or I could never have been, and so it's sometimes I look at Bittersweet and I'm like, it was kind of like this thing that served us in both different ways.
It's so hard to kind of like sum up everything that, you know, this platform has done for me and the ways that it's kind of like helped me. But I think people would even notice like how I was at the start compared to how I am now, like what you were saying. And I just think that like I've really become very like a lot more self-assured and like aware and all of these things. And a lot of that is to do with the experience of like coming on here, like purely on the podcast, coming and talking, but also like I've learnt so much through this, because every topic we do is
I was gonna say like we actually have to go and like research what we're trying to talk about, or like just like being kind of in the loop of what's going happening on media wise, or just like sometimes even just the tea of just hearing. Do you feel like you'd be disconnected if you weren't on the podcast?
I mean, I'd like to say I would be, but probably not.
You're so not social media, like on the social media
definitely
level.
Not on the social media side. Definitely not on the, like, I don't think I'd be as into podcasts as I am now, because like that was never really my thing before I started. And I started obviously listening to other podcasts, and I learned so much from just like kind of exploring what's out there. Every week when it's like, you know, what are we going to talk about? And it's just like, I just go into a deep dive of like what's happening, or what other people are speaking on, like what I've been like kind of reflecting on, how my week's been, like, you know, it's kind of therapeutic in that way. And then you just kind of like, I'll jump on the computer and just do like an hour or so, a couple of hours of just like research. And that's not something I would naturally do if it wasn't for this space. Like, we've spoken about so many things that I would just like not come across in my day-to-day life. And there are a lot of things that have like significantly improved, like my communication skills, my self-awareness, my like understanding of politics, and like
even can we just give a moment to like even running like a kind of platform like this with a friend, and how much I feel like that's taught me a lot about like just kind of navigating a friendship and like prioritizing the important things, and like putting your pride aside, putting your ego aside, because it has been like always, like I feel like you and I are so solid with our friendship and like the love we have for each other, but I feel like we've had so many testing times, but it's always like, it's just such a good like lesson to, it's like when you have siblings and you're forced to, whether you like it or not, like you're gonna make this work, you know. And I feel like with us, there's just been so many moments where we've had to learn each other so much, and also like learn to like navigate our differences. And I don't know, that's like a life lesson.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And that's not, again, like that's not something that I would have like really had to deal with. Like just kind of talking about starting a business in general, like a company, literally, and let alone doing that with a friend. Like there was so many things that we had to navigate and learn about each other, like you said, and so many hard times.
Tough times never last.
So literally
only tough people.
No.
Oh, I think let me find the video later and I'll clip it here.
Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like literally there was so many times where we just really had to like lean on each other and figure it out, even though like in other scenarios, like I don't think people, I mean obviously a lot of people understand what it's like running a business with a friend and stuff like that, but it's hard. So I really think like I'm just so proud of us for being able to
100%
like navigate that without like hating each other.
Oh my god, girl, there were moments. There were moments we'd come on the podcast and go home. But like
it's never that bad. Shut
it
up.
was never bad, but what do you mean? We had moments where we were just like, hey, like the passive aggression, but it was always like love, like regardless of whatever was going on. I think you and I, like, it's a blessing that we are who we are.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really is a blessing because even when you deep it, like we met each other in London, like we've had a past, but it's like the past has been since we started this really, and like right before, just a little bit before, but I think like the love was just genuine, and I think there's just a real like wanting to see each other win, and we're literally in this together, so there's always that respect for what we like, who we are as individuals before like this, and then like this kind of is like secondary to everything. So I think that is always kind of like in my mind, I'm like, whenever I think about us, I'm just like, that is kind of what grounds me and grounds us. But I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite bittersweet era? Because I feel like we've had our moments.
We've
had our moments.
Oh my goodness.
There was, let me list them out for you. So obviously there was the London era. There was the first radio station Signal Studios era. That was a time. That was we'd be like trekking with our bag of just like all this equipment.
Yeah,
like,
remember when we did the training? Like,
oh, we did so much just to like. And then the next year, one thing about Rahel and I is we're gonna get it. We're gonna finesse. There's always gonna be a way where we're gonna be like, how can we get this? How can we get this for a cheaper deal?
Yeah.
And I remember we both signed up for the training. We paid $50 each, and we're like, hold on. If we only need one person to enter, like, should we just like should we just have one person do the training so we could get? And we'd always ask them in a sly way, like, so what happens if one of us just do it? You know?
And then we do annoying stuff like bring guests in and stuff, and they'd be like, you like can't do that. But yeah, that was a time. Yes. Oh my god.
The Signal era. Let me take a sip. We had the Zoom era.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Maidstone apartment era, which I think was a time.
It was a time. That was vibes.
And I think the studio era. Oh no, the Footscray recording studio era.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And finally, the Bittersweet studio era.
No, yeah, there was a Footscray recording era. You're missing the era at your house.
That was Maidstone apartment.
No, in Mooney Ponds.
Oh my god, Mooney. Yeah,
on the pink chairs.
Yes.
Like how much
we've had like 7 eras of Bittersweet. 7 bittersweet moments.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how to answer.
Give us your top 3.
So we spoke about this before. So definitely Maidstone era.
Yeah.
Like that was just like vibes. I don't know. We had our like individual laptops.
Yeah.
And, like, we was just sitting on that table, and like the setup was like so nice. And
for the yeah,
I feel like we just had so many like hilarious like conversations. then.
I'm just remembering the amount of things we used to do. Guys, when it comes to like the technicalities of running a podcast, you don't understand the behind the scenes of what's going on. And the amount of times, like, I remember we bought a mic stand. Do you remember? Not even a mic stand, the boom arm thing. Yeah. And we attached it to my table. And we would have like 2 mics in front of our faces, covering our whole face while we're recording. I would watch that and I'm like, you can't even see us talking. Like, this just looks so like ratchet and DIY. Yeah. And then we had like a moment where we had a mic where we both, basically we didn't know about like audio interfaces and like things that you connect your mic to. So we just had 2 mics connected to the laptop. Yeah. We'd be like, oh my God, we have to bring the mic closer. Babes, it's only coming out of one mic. The sound is only picking up one mic. Yeah. And we were there with our whole hearts like, no, I think it was Talking Trophies that came. Yeah. And they did something with us. And for a long time, my apologies to Ravo, because I never said it to you, but I was like, this guy messed up our mics. Yeah. He did something with the settings and he messed up our mics. Yeah. But yeah, that was, so out of the 7 errors,
so obviously, definitely Maidstone. I have to shout out the obviously the London era. Like I have to say that because that's where it started. Like shout out to I remember London era for sure. Taking again, like I always say, like just recording off our phones, anchor days and like.
I genuinely don't remember how we edited. We didn't do video. We didn't do video for years. For a while, yeah.
We weren't doing video. So that's why it's kind of like, but that's why it's hard to like reminisce on that era. But I remember like what it was like. Yeah. And I don't know, just getting started. That like was coming up with the name. Like
Bittersweet. Did people know that what it was between?
Oh my God.
Do they know? I've told one-off people, but I don't know if we've ever announced it on the show.
Yeah, you have to.
Bittersweet was going to be called Baddies and Buddies. It was either Baddies and Buddies or Bittersweet. I'm pretty sure.
No, what about the other one?
Oh my God. That was like...
That's the one that killed me.
That one. Do you know what makes me laugh about that name? So the name was going to be Diasporic Dialect, yeah? Like we're some 2 intellectual girls out here like... It just doesn't make sense branding wise to have that name and Rahel and Wintana hosting that show. It just doesn't make sense. Imagine half the things we're saying and it's like, this is just a catfish name. Yeah. But Baddies and Buddies, that was funny too. I just don't think Baddies and Buddies is as timeless as Bittersweet. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's like... I always hear it. Everyone's always like, Bittersweet is such a good name.
Period.
And it is. It's crazy. So definitely like the London era, I remember our artwork was like the pink background and it was the photo of us like, and then we had the other artwork that was like, I mean, bless the people that put these together fast, by the way. It's just like hilarious when you look back on it.
It's more the behind the scenes, guys. Like if you knew like what it took for us to do one thing sometimes, like we would do the most just to like, even that picture, we didn't have a picture of each other for so long, like a good one. So we did organize the whole photo shoot.
Remember the whole, okay, do you remember that photo shoot that we did with Oh my gosh, I feel like you have to release those photos.
Never. Oh my God, we should put like a Bittersweet timeline of all the things. That one was crazy.
Yeah, the one in London. Sorry, it was...
Wait, are you talking about the first one or the second one?
I mean, both were absolutely fucked. The one where I'm like at your house, both of them were at your house. Oh my God.
And I mean like the time before that when it was going to be a podcast with like 5 people.
Wait, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? Just take a trip down memory lane. Think about it, sis.
Yeah, I remember how it started, but I don't remember that photo shoot.
You don't remember when 5 of us were in a house? I don't even know whose house it was. I can't remember. God. Yeah. It was just the most random, like the most random thing we ever did. God, yeah. And we were in the denim and we were just doing the most. Oh my God.
But yeah, anyway, those iconic. There was just so that whole time was just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But you see how it like how it grew and elevated over time. The thing that always gets me is our audio. Like the amount of people that, because I listened like this week, I've listened to a few like previous episodes, and I'm just like, that quality is like
so
hilarious.
many things that we just like didn't edit out.
And I'm always like, that's so fact.
I know. I want to make like there's so many moments of Rahel being like, that's fact.
Like I actually, yeah.
Oh my god. So yeah, those were the top three for you.
Oh
so
no, that was just two.
that was
like London and Maidstone. Oh my gosh. And I think, what else? Well, it has to be, last year was a year. So I guess the studio era.
Yeah.
Last year was a whole year. It was up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
The studio era, I feel like has to be in your top three.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think we have probably the same. I didn't even think of London as being like one of my, but it is. We have the same top three. London, obviously, just because it started there. Maidstone, because I think the funniest episodes were made then.
Yeah.
And then the studio, because the girls are up.
Yeah.
And having a place to ourselves, and just like, you know, it was like such a moment.
There has to be special consideration for mini ponds though. Like on those beaches.
Those were good too. That was actually an iconic time. That's like coming in close to it's sitting on fourth place, because that actually, we had really good conversations there as well.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah.
That was like, I look back at that time and just think like it was just such a you know, at the time you're always like not appreciating where you are. You're like, oh, I just feel stuck, and like we haven't been growing, or like this just feels like, you know. But then when we got the space, all I could do was like look back and be like, I just miss those days. So it was just cozy, and we just come and we're in our homes and we can just sit there and talk. And obviously the guest stuff got a bit like,
it was a sitch
just space wise, but it was nice because it was so comforting.
Yeah, it was.
But
it's crazy. That's why I'm like, you always look back on these things and it seems so like challenging and hard and just tough at the time, and then you look back on it and it's just like, wow, I would not ever do it any differently. Like I just can't believe how our story has like come together. And I still kick myself when I think, because even like I think we need to talk about the milestones of like things that we've done.
Okay, start us off.
I think for me, a lot of it started like when we started to record weekly. And we were just like, we're serious girls now.
We are
like,
serious. We are content creators now.
Yeah. And then,
because every 2 weeks was like, every time, like if things were moving too fast.
Yeah.
And also when we went into video.
And when we branded.
Oh, period. That was like these girls are not playing games.
Girl. That whole branding era was just like insane. Like that it
felt clean.
Yeah.
It felt like we're actually a brand now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we went through so many. Yeah. Me on like Photoshop thinking like, let me try and da-da-da-da-da. One thing I've learned running a platform, outsource. You don't I was the girl that wanted to do it all. I was like, I had so much energy.
Yeah.
Everything was like, I can do it. You can't do it. And even if you can do it, you can't do it like at the standard. I remember showing you things. You'd be like, yeah. I don't know, like I kind of see it and I'm just like, I get so offended, like you don't know how long I've worked on this, you know, but babes, you're not a graphic designer. It's okay. So yeah, outsourcing taught me a lot. Yeah. So that branding time was, that was good for us.
Yeah. And definitely like through COVID, a lot of the like we just stuck it out, you know what I mean? Like recording on Zoom, and we had opportunities to do online panels and things like that. And when I look back and think of those things, like I just like, it's so crazy. I feel like I wouldn't have done that if it was just me. Yeah. Because it just seems like a bit like random. You know what I mean? But we just did it. Yeah. Like we always just like, we just jump on panels and like talk about like in the really important things like colorism and like, I don't even know what else, but
hair, politics, representation.
Yeah, and shout out to the people that we got on during those conversations, because that was like baby bittersweet times, and we really I think we did a great job like hosting. I remember just being like, oh, I'm always scared, but I was just like terrified going in. But those were like kind of like, I think, defining moments for me at the very beginning, when we were kind of establishing into something more. And then of course I think in 2020, sorry, when did we always talk about the workshops, like Scanlon Foundation workshops, and when we got that first grant.
Yeah, which was obviously when we first got the space.
Yeah.
That was amazing. What would you say, like, what moment for you was like, because we started Bittersweet, like we said, it was like fun, kind of like this platform that was just like, you know, something we felt like we needed. But when was it that you felt like this is actually like, this is more than just something that we want, this is bigger than us? And like, what was that? Yeah, when was that for you? From like all the things that we've done, or which milestone was it?
Yeah. That's so hard. I think like going into it, I think like the motivation to continue, because doing this podcast was definitely one of those things where it's like, when you start, it's like a great idea and like it's all vibes, but then it's like sticking to it. There were so many times where I was like, I just can't be fucked. We'd be like, oh, we have to record. I was like, ugh, like I just can't be bothered. But what always like kept me going was that like that bigger picture of what we were doing. And I was like you, like really inspired by what was happening in London and the UK, like when we were living there. So it was always kind of like that for me, like I always knew how important it was, and that's what pushed me to be like so vulnerable and like continue even when I didn't want to. But I think like once I realized like, okay, this is serious was maybe like around the time of like all those like panels, and people were asking us to do events just before COVID. I remember we were going to work with someone to do a sip and paint, not the one that we did.
It was a vision board event.
And I remember during those conversations, like I was excited. I was like, oh my God, this is for real. Like this is starting to feel like
the real thing. Like this is something that we're doing.
And then COVID happened, and it kind of sucked because we couldn't, but we still kept it pushing, and we were doing like panels and stuff. And then I guess like definitely our sip and paint event that was was like, that was 2023. Well,
2022. Yeah, start of 2022,
something like that.
And then we had like our I feel like it's just a staple now, our vision board events that just like happen each year. It's just gonna keep happening.
It's gonna be Bittersweet
annual vision board event. And I just think like having it the first time and the second time, it was just nice to see like people, because first time was like invites, and then the second time we like opened it up to the public. And it's just become really like a staple, like the brand of Bittersweet.
The brand, exactly. And I see that as that now. I don't see it as just like two girls like jumping on and talking. It's kind of like it's a whole like phenomena at this point. And I see that. And I started seeing that it was a gradual like process. But it's just, like... It's hard to like pinpoint
what you're give us
exact time,
since we're like, I just want to go into highlights for you.
Yes.
So we're going to be talking about the lows and the highs. Okay. So give us your top 3 Bittersweet moments.
So I think definitely the live show.
Okay.
100%.
That's a big one. Yeah.
The sip and paint.
Okay, the first event.
Yeah, the first event.
Yeah. That was a good event.
Yeah, right? That was crazy. This is so hard. Oh my gosh. Amari Gala.
Oh
my God.
That was a moment. Yeah. I actually didn't even think, I don't even know why. This year's so fresh. Everything is so fresh.
I know. I'm full like in reminiscing mode, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But there's so many more.
I would say top 3 moments. When we found out we were getting our studio, that was a moment. We couldn't breathe. We're so dramatic. I swear, we're so dramatic. I think I was doing my
bitch.
hair. Yeah, I was doing my hair. And I was, oh my god, Rahel. It was just like we felt. I remember we went out. We felt physically sick because we were just like it was just such that feeling of like.
It was a lot. Though.
I think it was just a lot, and we both like feel. Yeah. So the moment we were finding out we were getting our studio. The live show for sure, and I'm trying to think of like another moment that really was like wow for us, for me anyway. There's so many because this campaign that we just put out, I think for me was like it really touched my heart. But also there's moments like the first Vision Board event, 2023 Vision Board event. Yeah. I usually feel exhausted after any event just because there's so much work that goes into it. I've never felt so energized after something. Yeah. I was like, I feel like full of energy. Yeah. The women in the space, like everything just was like filling me up. Everything. So that was like, I was buzzing. So it's either, I would say the live show, the moment we got our studio, and I don't know, the Vision Board event. Yeah. And the campaign. The campaign and the Vision Board event are sitting together.
They're together, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But there's so many, like, there's obviously so much more.
Obviously the guests and everything like that. That's like a whole thing. But I meant like the moments. Because there's a lot. Top 3.
Special shout out to Fashion Festival.
Fashion Festival was a good one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, there's so many like little like things that we've done. I really have enjoyed like working with other organizations. Like I remember when we did the thing for Mav, and we did those like interviews. That was fun.
That was fun.
And there's another like kind of
I really enjoyed like the community collabs, like all the like. It was a lot, like the basketball collabs that we did last year. I enjoyed like doing the stuff that we did with Polar Practice. Yeah, like I like when we start to see like a alignment between Bittersweet and other other like people in the space. Disruptions live show. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, stuff like
that. Where I was like, that was they're like highlights for us for sure.
And definitely defining moments, because that's what makes it in Bittersweet into more than just us, you know.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
All of the events, all of the community collaborations, and the interviews. Because I was gonna say, like when we started, I remember you were like, oh, we should start doing interviews properly, and we launched Shifting Culture.
Oh my god. How are we not gonna mention Shifting Culture? Yeah. Who was our first? Lorinda. Collective Closets were our first interview. Shout out to Collective Closets. And now we're like sisters. Yeah. That's like Shifting Culture was a time for us.
Right?
Yeah. And for people who don't know, for the real ones that have been rocking with us since day one, like we created like a whole segment where we basically interviewed women in like African, like black women basically in the creative space, the business space, fashion, mental health, arts, everything, and just like talk to them about what they were doing. Yeah, and we had so many people on at that time.
That's what I'm saying in terms of like there's things that are undescribable in terms of like of what you can get from doing something like this, and part of that is like the people that you meet. Because I remember like reaching out to Collective Closets, for example, that was just the DM.
Should we tell them what happened? Should we tell them what happened?
Oh my god!
These are the things that are actually like. This is so basically. This is what I said when we had moments, Rahel and I. This is the type of things. So it was like I remember I sent you a template, and I was like, "Oh, can you please like reach out to people?" Like that was like her like job at the time, and I remember you like and Collective Closets were like they are a big deal, but like at the time, us with our little like, I don't even know how many followers we had, but it's a thing. And they were like, obviously Collective Closets killing it. They're a huge brand. And Rahel reached out, and I was like, okay, we want to do like a shout out their platform. Like, who knows if they're going to say okay, but let's just see. And then you messaged them, and you sent them the wrong name. Like you were reaching out to like this brand. You're like, hi, can we, we love this brand. And Lorinda, God bless Lorinda, she replied, she's like, oh, hey, lovelies. Like, I think you were actually trying to reach out to this brand. Like, this is her IG. And I just remember Rahel being like, girl, I fucked up. And I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing. Like, they're going to think that we're so stupid. And that was like the start of like this whole relationship we have with them now, where it's like, it's so genuine. And it's like, shout out to Collective Closets for Tuma and Lorinda. Those girls have been like our rock throughout this whole journey. They're like our big sisters in this space.
I remember just after the episode as well, I remember they were like, oh my God, you girls did so well. Like, you're so good at this. Like,
after we recorded,
after we did their interview for Shifting Culture, I remember just, they were like, this is like, really like high level interviewing. Like, you guys are on the right path. Like, this is
it was so validating.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that.
Yeah. Or even when they sat with us, we went out with them for dinner for the first time after one of I think they had a launch for a new collection. And remember, we went out to dinner?
Yeah.
And they were like, this is our, I think they were saying that it wasn't until their 6th year where they started to, and I hope that was right, but like, it wasn't until the 6th year where they actually started to see like their business really growing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's such a, it was just, they know how to reaffirm you all the time. They were like, you know, you're doing the right things, just continue being consistent. And that's one thing I would say is like so invaluable in these kind of spaces, like being able to connect with people that are going to support you, are going to love you and still ride for you.
Yeah.
Just like, you need that, because this kind of stuff can get tough.
Yeah, it's grating. It can be really hard. I think like the interviews, they were it was just like, sometimes I felt like it was like an honor to be able to sit in those and be a part of those conversations. And like, I don't know, and like all of the people that we met, that's why when you can talk about like having a platform and being able to like platform other people is such a incredible like honor. And the thing about Bittersweet is that we have full creative control over everything, and that's not something that you like really get every day. So because of that, we could like bring on who we wanted, we could structure the conversations and interviews how we wanted. Like, it's just insane. And I think a lot of people were able to get like a lot out of those conversations. Yeah,
be able to like, for some people it was like first time like being able to talk about their whatever they're doing in that way, because obviously like when you're, I don't know, like you're an athlete, or when you're someone who's a musician or whatever it is, you've got a platform and like you're being asked to talk in certain places. It's not always, it's like publicity talk, not talk like to actually speak about your journey, or like to talk about it in a very raw and kind of like just open way. So I think that's been good. But what have been your top 3 lows? Top 3 lows. I want to hear it.
I think definitely like I think it's been really hard to keep going sometimes. With, I think sometimes like, especially because we're like a weekly podcast. And there were times where I really like, truly honestly, which is, I guess is partly normal. Like you feel like you're like, ugh, like why, you know, like what is this? What am I doing? You know?
So like constantly staying motivated.
Yeah. That was really challenging. And, it was really hard to realize that you can't count on the like the work is always going to be there, and it's not always going to be like these highs all the time. And I think when you're growing something and it's so like you're so, I would say like under-resourced and not as supported as like, for me, I think what we're doing is like incredible. And I wish that there was like more validation and support and like more people, like, you know, I just wish we were at like a certain level. And I feel like we like deserve that, but I guess like you can't focus on that in the time. So I think I just like really, and then something amazing would happen, like we would do an event or like we would do something and like you would realize, okay, yeah, actually like a lot of people really ride for this. Like you can't focus on all of those things. So I think that was just kind of like challenging for me at times to like push past that and just like keep going. And I think also like the whole like struggling with self-doubt and like
it's a real
being vulnerable, because especially like, you know, when you see like mean comments and stuff like that, or people aren't really like engaged or kind of feeling what you're saying, it's kind of like you start to feel like again, it's that kind of self-doubt, like why do I deserve to be here in this space, when
which I think
that person would be so much better than me. So that was really hard.
I think everyone struggles with that, even like no matter, I think when you have to put yourself out there and like you're like subject to public scrutiny, that stuff is like it can get really intense, because obviously you're putting you're even being vulnerable. When you compare like us back then to now, like there were some things we were a bit more like blase about, but I feel like we learnt how to really talk about like our stories, or like how to really like share experiences, because at the start it'd be like the way we would be like, if you did it and like that, like, you know, when you like do that, and like it was just like code on some other level. But I think we started to get more comfortable with like sharing parts of ourselves, and I think that comes with like the more practice and the more like you become sure of yourself and what you're doing. So that's it's such a normal feeling. It's just obviously hard when you think about sometimes when I would clock like, oh my gosh, so people actually like listening to this. And it's just, it can be hard to just continue to be so open. And then sometimes I would listen back on myself and be like, hey girl, oh my god. But then I'd just be like, okay, whatever, like at least you're trying, at least you're out there, like at least you're like pushing yourself, you're only learning from this experience, and if you just quit and give up, then what would have been the point the whole time, you know? So that was hard, but again, like I think it's something that you learn from. And I think we've spoken about it. I think just like the navigating like life with something that demands so much of your like time and attention, that you're not, you know, getting paid for. There's not like a lot of recognition. Sometimes people don't really understand what you're doing. They're like, what? Like, what's that? Like, podcast. You know, so I think it's always hard to just like continue to push through those times. But I would say it's never long that I'm just completely like validated. I don't know. It'd be an interview that we do, or an episode that me and you do, or like an event, or I don't know, it could be anything, and then it just kind of like brings me back into reality, and I'm like, oh. You went so deep. I thought you were gonna also mention like the time that we got hacked.
Oh my god.
Like I really thought that was gonna be there.
Oh my god, I can't even. My mind, there's been too much. That was crazy. That was a crazy time. The guy from Russia? Or Poland?
He started like posting his photos. He started posting his picture on our account. That was so intense. I really was like, the time we got hacked, for sure. That was like, that to me was my fault as well. Anyway, I couldn't believe it. I thought that was, I just really saw everything kind of go downhill.
We lost everything.
We lost so much content. So much content. I thought
and
we were going to lose our page.
And everything as well.
Everything. We had to build it back up. That was really sad. I think like just feeling like sometimes alone in this kind of space. Like you're doing it and you feel like, okay, especially being in Australia and just being like black women, and being in the space and trying to like almost prove that what you're doing is necessary and what you're doing is needed, and just like feeling very misunderstood in that space, I think like has been like a low, because there's moments where you're just like, but what we're doing is so great and you guys need to realize that. So there was that, and then the third one would probably be, it would be similar in terms of like self-doubt. Like, I think I've gone through so many emotional like roller coasters in this space where I'm just like, there's a fear. There's always a big fear of like, what we're trying to do is also create something out of this. It's not just like a hobby. It's like, you know, and we've brought it so far. So for me, it's always that feeling of like, have we, you know, there's obviously validating moments where I'm like, no, this is what we're doing is making sense, and we're on the way to go do something, and it's all of that stuff. But then it also felt like we're so far away from it, and we're so disconnected from it, especially being where we are. It just feels like it's not going to happen in our time, and that's kind of what sucks. Like, it always feels like, okay, if we were to get up and move to a different country, would that be a different scenario? You know, would there be like more opportunity for us there? So that was always like a down for me, where I'm just like, love it, we'll put our heart into it, you know, we'll continue doing it, but then you feel like, is it am I actually gonna get something out of this as well? Even though it's not just for that, it's also something that like we're both very extremely passionate about, and would like to like see ourselves kind of be in this space, and continue to do more and like create more impact, but then also like have fun with it and enjoy it as a career. So that's kind of always been like my mind's always in two places with this one. So those are my three. But hacking was definitely up there.
Yeah, the hacking was freaking crazy.
I was ready to fight that man. I was so mad. I was so scared when I saw his photo.
I know. It's so funny because when it happened, it was like so one of those things that we were just like, keep it pushing.
Oh, yeah. When we got the account back, it was like,
anyway.
Just, like, that happened. Anyway, yeah, that was too much.
That was too much. But there's been... It reminds me of every time we would record a full episode, then it would just delete. Do you remember that?
Oh my God.
It would just be gone. Or we would realize that something died in the middle of it.
Oh my God.
Or like we'd be with guests and it would just like, it would not be working.
Then we'd be like, I'm not sure why this is happening today. Like, it's such bad timing. Mind you, it's
we're like technology.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about top episodes.
So what have your top episodes been?
Okay. I think I wrote, actually, let me have a look.
That's a hard one though. Top episodes.
It can be a combination of episodes and like segments. Maybe.
Okay.
So for me, I always say this, but I remember there was an episode that we did on burnout, which was like one of my top episodes, just because it was so real at that time during like COVID and stuff. We did an episode on toxic diet culture, which I felt like was quite real. For our experiences.
I remember listening back on that and I was just like, what am I saying? But it's good that you got something out of that.
I think it's
more. I think there's moments where I'm like, I've listened to me and I'm like, I don't know what you were saying then. I feel like there's moments where I'm listening to you and I'm like, okay, this girl's like, you know,
I think
switched on.
Again, like, it's really hard to pick like top episodes because there would be so many. Like, even the one that we did the other day on like maturity, that was a good episode.
Yeah, that was a really good
episode. I really like that episode. The multiple relationship episodes that we've done.
I love like the relationship episodes.
All the relationship advice. Like, I was looking through them and I'm like, oh my God, we really just like touch on so many
topics within relationships.
Yeah. I loved our question of the week segment.
That was a good one.
And we would just like ask the questions and then answer them. Like, of course, I remember like I just loved when you would go into like story times.
Oh
like
my
you
God.
would just like tell a story about like something that had like happened to you, or like, I don't know. I loved those ones. And I think that we were very like bold and brave to talk about sex so much.
Oh
like, on
my
this
God.
podcast.
Let's talk about the fact that we had sex toys, guys. And the reason we say this, because obviously there's going to be like a community outside of like the local community that we know. It's not very like, it's foreign for like African girls to be out here talking about sex and this and that, like so openly, even talking about mental health and like going to therapy and doing all that stuff. It's just not a common thing. So the fact that we had like sex toy promotions actually cracked me up. We killed it.
We got a sexologist. We had like general episodes about sex and stuff. So I just think it's so important to like remove 100%. The taboo. And then with our interviews, like it's so hard to narrow it down. I can't say specific people because there was amazing things I got from like
each conversation,
like basically all the conversations that we did. So, and I cannot leave out the dilemmas.
Dilemmas is my favorite segment. Yeah. Dilemmas, my favorite segment. Bitter or sweet was really good. I loved giving Rahel riddles more in the newer episodes, like because you just always got so emotional about it.
Yeah, because I hate it.
Yeah, I love that. What else did I like? I liked relationship episodes were always like my favorite kinds, just because relationship and friendships. And pop culture. Yeah. Because I love doing like social commentary. I love giving my opinion about things. I think like I don't know if I have a favorite episode. I'm trying to think about what I liked is when we went into like detail about certain things, like lying on your resume, or like it'd be like something really small or niche in a topic that I liked.
Yeah, and then
we just like dissected like something that a lot of people do, but you don't really talk about. But yeah, and then in terms of guests, I don't know. I can't say my favorite either because that wouldn't be fair. I loved everybody that jumped on the podcast. But I did like the unhinged episodes. I love when people were very much like open and themselves and were having laughs. Yeah,
it was always it was so great to like see people bring their personality and stuff to the episode.
Yeah. I also thought our drinking episodes back in the day were
hilarious.
Too good.
I feel like if we were to ever start another podcast, it should be like drinks and
cocktails and like something.
Just because like the way crazy shit. I think of course like I just want to also mention our introspective conversations.
Oh yeah.
I love I've said it multiple times.
All this stuff, and then I love them too. Do you know what I loved as well? Every new year.
Yeah.
The New Year ones and the life update ones. What's happening?
Yeah.
Talk to us. I love those episodes. Yeah. Because there was not a lot of like, it was just very much come as you are and let's just talk about what's been happening. Yeah. And I think that is really special.
I feel like I really would love this conversation to like literally go on forever. But I just want to like, for me, one of the main things that I want to say is to really just kind of like shout out everyone who listened and tuned in and all of the people who were able to, you know, get something out of the conversations that we had here, like on this couch or at Wintana's house or in the studio somewhere or in London. Like again, like I said, like there's the main thing that kind of validated me and like kept me going or kept me being able to feel confident in being here was the people who were tuning in like each week, and the people who would like and comment, and the people who would come to me and be like, yeah, like just what you're doing is great. I am like I would just be shocked at some of the people that would come and be like, I'm a listener. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
like I can't. So I think, you know, like that's really been one of the main things for me that has like really fed into like my everything here.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like just being able to do it with my sister.
I know, sis. It's such a surreal feeling right now to know that. Anyways, I'm going to get into that, but I just want to also ask you, like, what I feel like you're very much known for also dropping gems on this episode, on this podcast. Like people always like, Rahel always comes in with her wisdom and her gems, because you're also very like observant. Like you sit, you listen, and you take in, and then you're like, here, let me tell you. So I know that there will be people, especially young women, that are watching this and, you know, probably thinking like a million questions, like, okay, I guess advice you could give them, or even just thinking like you've like left something that you've built that you love, like what would you say to them about, I guess, life itself and transitions, but also just about like, going after what you want to go for?
Oh my gosh. I think like, I don't know, when for me, again, like I'll go back to our first episode because I literally remember part of what we spoke about. And I remember talking about like part of the reason why I just randomly like moved to London, which is the same reason why I like decided to be on this podcast, even though I was scared and even though I knew that I wasn't necessarily like good enough at that time. It was just like I think it's just important to kind of take risks and be comfortable, like be used to being uncomfortable, and to just kind of like see these experiences as things that are going to like shape and define you, and to feel like you don't need to be perfect to do it. Like I feel like we're both like an example of that. That's what Bittersweet has been. If we waited till we understood everything, or if once we felt completely confident, then we never would have done it. And I think also like it's so important to just be like open and vulnerable in moments where you feel like you're not good enough, and just like tell yourself that at least I'm trying, and at least I'm going for like I see the bigger picture of like what this could be, because just taking one of the main things I've taken from this experience has been that, because of course it hasn't been easy, but the good times have always outweighed the hard times every single time. And it's just important to trust your gut.
Trust your guts.
I always trust my gut. I do.
Yeah.
And it usually like it leads me in somewhat of a direction.
Yeah. But you can always justify, like you can always, the good thing is it's like you can always, when you do that, like regardless of the outcome, you can always tell yourself that it was the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah, because you need to make a move. Like sometimes it's like sometimes when you feel like it's like you can feel stuck.
Yeah.
It's where it's like this way or this way. It's like not doing anything is one of the worst things that you can do.
Yeah.
So it might not be the best decision, but it's better than
just kind of being complacent.
Yeah, that's how I try to see it anyway. But yeah,
the wisdom, the gems. The gems. This is such a sad moment, honestly. It's such a sad moment, but also such a like, it's one of those moments where it's just like, yeah, kind of I don't know.
But I'm not like, like in saying all this, I'm not going. Like I'm still around, like I'm still very much like invested in Bittersweet.
100%.
I'm still gonna be in Wintana's ear, like like
do this and
do this, talk about the like I'm I could never let this go.
And you were like, you always, I mean, for people listening, they're probably thinking like the next stage of Bittersweet and what that looks like. And I think that's kind of what is like very sad for me, because I have for this whole time, it's like we've been thinking about it since we've been talking about it, and you brought it up to me. Obviously there's just moments of like, this can't exist without you. A lot of the times that's kind of like what I've been going through in my head. But then obviously again, like this is something that I'm really passionate about and something that I still want to see in this space, and it would just be a shame to not have it go on. Like especially if like one of us is still in it. But the saddest part is, and what keeps hitting me, is the fact that like I just think that these moments, you just never appreciate things until like they don't have, I mean, I've always appreciated it, and I've always said like it's such a relief to just have this space where we can come and talk about things. Like we just be like, okay, we see this, I want to like commentate, I want to have a opinion about something. We jump on we can like, it's always like a space where we can talk about things like that, and I love that. But it's just, it's really hit me that this dynamic is not going to be here anymore. Like it's so crazy, whether it be like whatever the podcast ends up being, it's just like this was such a obviously if we could have done this forever, it would have been an amazing thing. But it's like I will always cherish this. Like we had like 5 years of solid conversations back to back of just like, it was such a moment in both of our lives. I think it was long enough to say that it was really like an era. And that's what for me I've just been like reflecting on, and also just like thinking about how grateful I am to have had you, to have you and have us build this thing together, and just have this space where we could just like really jump on and like just talk, sis. Like I don't know, I don't think a lot of people get to have this, so I hope like you're taking that in, because I definitely have appreciated it a lot. Been such a beautiful, it's just beautiful, even though it's bittersweet. It literally is bittersweet. That should be the title of the podcast episode.
Bittersweet moments. The thing is, it's like this is very like, this is a hard moment for me, and I just know that I'm gonna it's reflecting on, even when we were like watching like little clips of our old episodes, like before this episode, I was like, what the like, I just can't believe everything that we've done together, and all of the conversations that we've had, and I don't think that this is like, I don't take that for granted like at all. It's just, this is one of those things that it's like, I don't know how it's supposed to sink in. Like,
I think it's not like, I think the whole time it's been like the theme for us is like trying to process all of it, and that's been the struggle for us. But I think the fact that we always like, it's a blessing that we have these videos and everything that we've created, but it's just like, when do you actually ever see like two like best friends jumping on and like creating something? And I think the best part is it's bigger than just the podcast. It's like so much more, that we've like created a whole community, a brand. So I think that is what makes it really special. And like, you should be proud of yourself, we should be proud of each other. Like it's
no, I am. I'm so proud of both of us, and like I said, I just feel so blessed to have been given this, like, I don't know, be part of this. Like, it's just incredible. And I just never me 10, 20 years ago, you know, would just be like, wow. Got me going crazy. So
like, you really did that. Yeah, really for sure.
But I'm so excited to like see where Bittersweet goes. And I'm very much like, again, like, I'm still here and I'm part of it, and I'm gonna miss this. I'm really gonna miss this.
I'm gonna miss this too. And I just like, you know me, I'm just emotional, so if I reflect too much on that, I might just start crying. But for people wondering what is gonna happen with Bittersweet, where is it going, what are we doing, guys, we're stepping into a new era. Okay. And I think with Bittersweet now, it's like, we're trying to, obviously Bittersweet has been Rahel and Wintana this whole time, so it's really hard to kind of picture what it'll look like moving forward. And it's going to be the same vibe. It's still going to have the same energy of Bittersweet, but it's just not going to have Rahel anymore, unfortunately. It's going to be a solo podcast hosted by your girl Wintana, and we're going to have guests every week. And yeah, guys, what I would really love is for this to kind of be like a process where we kind of work on this new Bittersweet together, because I'm really interested to hear what people want from the show. And like, this is an opportunity for me to rebrand, but also rebrand with like the audience in mind, rather than just having like my own vision of it, which I have, but it would be nice to hear what people are looking for. So the DMs are open, come through. We're going to take a small break of Bittersweet. There's probably going to be a month break, and there's going to be multiple updates through social media. So make sure you follow us on Instagram at bittersweet.podcast so you can get all the updates. But yeah, this is also not the last Rahel and Wintana episode, guys. Don't think we just put this information out there and left you guys hanging. We're going to have one more episode next week where it's like the final hurrah. This is going to be the vibes. We're going to have fun next week. All right. There's going to be games. There's going to be drinks. So make sure you get your glasses. You come ready. We're going to have good chats, and we're going to just have a beautiful send off for Rahel, because we need to do it in true bittersweet fashion.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
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 How are you feeling?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I don't have words for how I feel. There's just like so much that bittersweet encompasses. So I'm just really excited to see like what happens next.
Yeah. Stay tuned, my guys.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
This was a heavy episode. I don't think there was like a better way to kind of announce this. I think the campaign coming out, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, check it out, because it really encompasses our whole story and like what this platform means to us and like where it's going and why it's so valuable. So I think to have that come out, and then obviously this announcement, it's like probably the most like the best, like, what do you call it? What do you call that thing? Series of events?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, diasporic dialect. I'm sorry, intellect. It's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, like, yeah, you know what we're trying to say, but thank you for riding with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for just like supporting us, supporting like everything that we do, and like also like understanding, just like understanding what we're doing as well, understanding the vision. We love you guys for real, and we can't wait to continue to put out content and to just like grow this platform. So we will see you guys next week.
We will see you next week.
Get ready to turn up. Bye.